Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we are diving into a really powerful idea about management that could honestly change how you lead and even how you work with your colleagues. It all comes from Kim Scott's fantastic book, Radical Candor.
You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You see something that's not quite right, but you bite your tongue because you don't want to rock the boat or come off as the bad guy. You tell yourself you're just being nice, but what if that niceness is actually the thing that's holding your team back?
And this quote just hits so hard because it gets right to the core of the issue. Scott points out that being a boss isn't just some line on an org chart. It has a huge real-world impact on people's happiness and well-being. The stakes are just incredibly high, which is exactly why we need a better way to think about leading people.
So, what is the fundamental problem here? Why is it that so many people with the best intentions end up struggling to connect with their teams and get the results they're looking for?
Well, the answer turns out to be pretty simple, but it's definitely not easy. It all boils down to one thing: relationships. We have to forget this old-school, top-down idea of authority. Truly effective leadership, the kind we're talking about, is built on a foundation of genuine human connection and trust with the people on your team.
Okay, so how do you actually build these powerful relationships? Well, Scott argues it's not as complicated as you might think. It really just comes down to doing two key things at the same time. The first piece of the puzzle is to care personally. This is all about tearing down that wall of so-called professionalism that tells us to be robots at work. It means you show up as a whole person, and you create a space where your team can do the same. It's about actually seeing them as human beings with lives, dreams, and goals that go way beyond their job description.
And this is just such a critical point. Caring about your people isn't some soft, fluffy weakness. It's a massive strength. It's the very thing that builds the trust you need for a team to really click and perform at its best. It's what makes you a true leader, not just another manager.
Now, for the second dimension, the one a lot of us really have a hard time with, is to challenge directly. This is all about having the courage to have those tough conversations. To say what needs to be said clearly and honestly, because you are invested in helping people grow and you want to keep the bar high for everyone.
This quote totally reframes how we think about conflict, doesn't it? Avoiding those tough conversations isn't a kindness. In a way, it's a form of neglect. Real leadership means you care enough to push your team to be better, even when it feels uncomfortable for a minute.
So what happens when we take these two dimensions, caring personally and challenging directly, and put them together? Well, what we get is a surprisingly simple but incredibly powerful framework for understanding literally every conversation you have at work.
And here it is, the Radical Candor Matrix. It's simple, right? You've got care personally running up and down and challenge directly going side to side. And where your actions land at any given moment puts you in one of these four quadrants.
Okay, let's start in the top left. High on care, but low on challenge. This is ruinous empathy. This is the danger zone where most of us, nice managers, live. You care about the person, so you avoid the conflict. But what's the result? Well, praise ends up feeling a little empty, and real problems never get fixed, which in the long run is way more hurtful to the person and the team.
Now let's slide over to the bottom right. Low on care, but high on challenge. This gives you obnoxious aggression. This is when you challenge people, but you haven't put in the work to show them you actually care. Your feedback lands like a punch. This is your classic jerk boss. Sure, people might do what you say, but they're doing it out of fear, and you'll never get their trust or their best ideas.
And then we have the worst quadrant of all, down in the bottom left, where you don't care and you don't challenge. This is manipulative insincerity. Think passive aggression, office politics, fake compliments. This is where trust goes to die. It is absolutely toxic.
But finally, when you can bring both high care and high challenge together, that's when you hit the sweet spot, radical candor. This is the goal. You show people you're invested in them as human beings, and that earns you the right to be direct and honest. Your guidance is both kind and clear, and this is how you build real, lasting trust.
All right, this theory is fantastic, but how do we actually start doing this day to day? Let's get practical and look at a few ways to put this into action.
So here are a few simple rules of thumb from the book. Praising in public is great because it shows the whole team what success looks like, but criticize in private always, to respect the person's dignity. Give your feedback right away, not 3 weeks later in a performance review. And, so important, always focus on the specific behavior, like you were late to the meeting, not on their personality, like you're unreliable.
Now, this is a perfect example of what caring personally looks like in practice. A great boss gets that not everyone on the team wants the same thing. Your rock stars are your foundation. They love their craft and provide stability. Your superstars are your change agents, always looking for the next big challenge. A great team needs both, and you have to manage them differently to keep them happy and engaged.
And this idea really captures the soul of great leadership. Your job isn't just about assigning tasks and checking boxes. It's about understanding people, their careers, their dreams. When you can help someone see how their work today connects to their bigger life goals, you unlock a level of motivation and loyalty that is just off the charts.
So look, the really crucial thing to get here is that this isn't just another management buzzword. Adopting radical candor can actually change the entire culture of your team and even your whole company from the ground up.
And that right there is the ultimate payoff. Radical candor isn't just about being a nicer boss. It's a high-performance framework. It's about building a team that is so strong and trusts each other so deeply that they can do incredible things together that no single person could ever do alone.
And that's really the big idea in a nutshell. When you commit to caring personally and challenging directly, you build the kind of trust that allows a team to truly flourish. You create a place where people feel safe enough to take risks, to speak their minds, to mess up and learn, and ultimately to do the very best work of their careers.
So I want to leave you with a question to think about. In your own work, with your own team or your own boss, where is there an opportunity to be a little more radically candid? What's that one conversation you've been putting off that really truly needs to happen?
This has been our deep dive into Kim Scott's Radical Candor. If any of this resonated with you, I honestly can't recommend the book enough. Thanks so much for tuning in.